I'm going to briefly explain something real quick before I start. I have a 5-year-old who decided Sunday as I was leaving home to get stomach bug. And as we all know, with children, they like to pass things on, and it hit me about 9 o'clock last night. So if I look weird or uncomfortable, it has nothing to do with our conversation or your feedback or anything we're talking about. It's just me powering through my 5-year-old's gift. So with that, and I love that that's now going to be on video for everyone on the web to check in on. Okay, so today we're going to talk about college and career readiness at the elementary level. I am Morey. I'm with the Iowa College Access Network. I'm also an ISCA board member. I hold the ICAN ad hoc position on the board, and I'm also the communications marketing chair. So put feelers out there right now. If you want to be on the communications committee, email me. On my 7 years on the ISCA board, I've learned so much about school counseling, and especially my roommate every year is an elementary school counselor, so I'm learning so much more about the elementary level. At ICAN, we primarily work with 8th through 12th grade, and that's where our programming lies. I am trying to change that, so this is my first step, and I'm hoping to start developing some tools that you guys can use. I don't foresee us jumping into presentations with you guys anytime soon because there's only 13 of us, but I'm hoping to expand what we can offer resource-wise and start getting some messages down to your area. Anyway, so I'm excited to talk about career and college readiness with you guys today. I'll also say again, my lovely 5-year-old is in kindergarten, and I'm starting to learn so much more about how he is being taught about the future and things like that. So I've got that kind of playing into this too. So what does career and college readiness at the elementary level look like? Honestly, it's varied, and it can be, this is the level where you get to use your imagination and you get to have fun with this. So where I primarily spend my days trying to get high schoolers prepared for their next steps and helping them make choices, it's very concrete. You need to take these classes. You need to do this job shadow. You need to fill out this form. You need to apply for, it's very, there's not a lot of creativity there. It's, here's your to-do list, go do it. At your level, you get to have fun with it, and that is what I want you to take away the most today, is go back and have fun with how you bring career and college readiness to your kiddos, because once they leave your building, it becomes very much more structured in what they have to do, and you get to have fun with it. So at the elementary level, we all know it's not about what career they're going to have or what college they're going to go to. It's about instilling the idea that they have those choices someday. It's about getting them excited about their future and about the world and watching their little minds expand into just, that is out there and that's a possibility. That is what career and college readiness at your level is. It's exposure. It's having fun, and it's laying the foundation for that checklist that's going to come in middle school and high school. You get to get them ready to explore the world, and you get to expand their minds with all of the possibilities that lie out there, and you get to have fun doing it. So how do we lay that foundation? How do we let them know what those choices are and have fun doing it? So as early as age 5, children are beginning to shape what they think they might be, what that career might be. Now they're probably not going to be like, I'm aspiring to be. That's not the words they're going to use. My son thinks he wants to be Iron Man. And that's great. It's a superhero, that's fun. But you know what other questions come after that? When I embrace that, I say, you know what, that's awesome. What does Iron Man do? And he goes, well, he's really smart. So he uses computers and he uses technology. And so I would need to know how to do that. Like, how do I get a Jarvis? He asks me. And I'm like, well, Iron Man created Jarvis, so I think you need to learn about computers and you need to go talk to computer teachers as you go to school. So those are the conversations we have, because he said he wanted to be a superhero. Now, if I had just said, well, okay, well, that's a superhero, that's great, and we didn't take that next step, we didn't have that conversation, well, then he might not have thought about that he needs to know about computers, that he needs to know about science, that he wants a Jarvis. So that's at the smallest age, You just embrace whatever they're going with and ask them questions. Get their minds thinking about, okay, well, what do you have to do? What does it take? So by age 9, kids actually start eliminating what they think they're capable of. And that's really young. And if you think about, I know sometimes, I never would have thought that Arthur would have been thinking about things in kindergarten or in preschool the way he does. So we want to make sure that we don't limit what they think they're capable of. That's what elementary school is. You want to make sure that they aren't thinking they aren't capable of something. We're building them up when they're little. We're exploring the world, what is possible, what does it take to get there. So that when they are 8 and 9, they're not already saying, I can't do that. That's not possible for me. As school counselors, what I love about working with school counselors is that I get to come and be a part of one of the best groups of people a couple times every month, and then these 3 days. This is one of my favorite weekends of the year because I get to come and be inspired because you get to spend your days lifting kids up and telling them what's possible, not what's impossible. And I love that. So the beginning process of Career and College Readiness is just that. You're assisting kids in making that connection and telling them what's possible. So helping them understand the connections between school and work and life, and without all the stress that comes with actually making the decision. And it's the everyday skills that you're talking about that make those connections. So building a college-going culture. So for a second, we're going to dive into some data and explain why this is so important. College-going culture is important because that's where they need to be. We know we've got the Future Ready Iowa initiative going on where we're trying to build up our workforce and get people skilled and educated. High school is no longer enough for most of our society. So 68% of all new jobs require some form of post-secondary education or training. So it used to be a lot smaller than that. It didn't used to be a necessity to go do something after college. But right now, 5% of the jobs that you can get straight out of high school have promotion possibilities without further education. 5%. So someone who doesn't aspire to do something after high school has a 5% chance to advance in whatever job they get right out of high school. Where does that put them in terms of lifestyle and capability and choices if they have no advancement opportunities? That means that starting wage is their wage. And if they get cost of living, that's where they plateaued at 18 or 19. If we don't instill that love and that desire to go further, whatever that next step is. And then the last two is where we do some self-reflection because they're not prepared. 46% of individuals entering the workforce they're not well prepared for that job. They need the additional education and training. And there are jobs, we all know, that when we have that interview, we put on the big happy face and sometimes we may fudge a little about what we're capable of to get that job. But in some cases, they fudged too much, they got the job, they can't do it, they don't have the skills. And part of preparing them for that is what are those skills? And at this level, it's communication, it's understanding how community works, about interaction, it's those soft skills at this level. And then 40% of high school graduates aren't ready for college or employment. Those are it's something to think about. How do we better prepare them? And at this level, you're laying that foundation. The skills that they gain when they're in elementary school make them better prepared and more confident when they have to start making those to-do list choices in middle school and high school. So the importance, again, we talk about that wage, that lack of potential. If they have education training right now, you have a bachelor's degree, you approximately make 84% more than someone with just a high school diploma. 84% more. So now we're talking about economic development. We're talking about community citizens who are involved and active and can give back. We're talking about raising families out of poverty because they have education and they have skills and they have training and we've prepared them for that. That's the foundation that you're laying. Used to be different. Used to be you could graduate high school, you could get a job, you work 30 years, you get your gold watch, you make a good wage, you could support your family. That was 28% of the population needed something beyond high school in 1970. And now we're at 68%. That's the shift in the workplace. That's the shift in the market. And our jobs are to prepare our kids for that future. And at this level, we're actually looking, my son's class of 2031, that might actually be 80 or 90% by the time I have to get my son into college, and I need to be preparing him for this number to be a lot higher. And so do you, because your kiddos are younger than the other levels that are working on career and college readiness. So we know those stats. We know why we need to do this. How do we do it? What is a college-going culture? And what does that entail? So, first off, you should not be doing this by yourself. This is not a solo mission. This is something that the entire building, your entire district, should embrace and figure out, how do we work together to do this? Because one person is not going to get it done. You need to build support and inclusion across your building and your district. And we all know the key to building that inclusion and support, and that's data. So you take those stats that I shared, you take the stats from your programs, you take the ASCA statistics and programs and all of that research-based information, and you take it to your district and you say, this is why we need to do this, and this is why we need to be a team when we do this. And then you work together so that college and career readiness is not one lesson you have once a month. Or, oh, it's that 6-week thing we did in September. Or, oh, well, we did it at the end of the school year as a filler because we finished everything else. It should be part of every conversation. Every lesson can be incorporated. How do you relate the lessons you're giving in your everyday curriculum to career and college readiness? How does that apply to the future? Those are the things you think about. Those are the conversations you have in your building and your district so that it becomes part of the culture. It's not a one-off thing you do once a year or a special segment you do in the middle of the year. It's part of the culture. It's ingrained. It's just how we talk. It's what we do. In this building, we are career and college ready. It is part of how we talk to our students every single day. What are you going to do? What are you going to be? How did I get where I am? Those are the conversations. So what's your role? Oh, my PowerPoint decided to be all special. Has some transitions. Awesome. So what's your role? We know we need to build inclusion, but where's your role in building that building and support? So you're creating early awareness. You're creating knowledge and skills that set those kids up for the academic rigor of middle school and high school. I mean, elementary is where we learn to read. What is more important than ensuring that a kid leaves elementary school fully able to read and comprehend what they're reading? Not just know what the words are, but understand what the words mean. Understand how those sentences come together. Reading is fundamental and it happens in elementary school. And if you can read, you're going to excel in foreign language. You're going to excel in your English classes because you're going to have better understanding of how to write those essays, how to write those papers, how to do research, because you're understanding what you're doing, what you're reading. You learn how to do basic math in elementary school. And that, again, these are the foundations. And how do we relate those things to the future? You are often, I know, how many of you are the only counselor in your building? More than half. Sometimes you're going to be the only person in your building that understands career theory and process and practice and the school counseling principles of how to implement this. So you have to be the leader. You're the one that comes in and with your data and with your program model, and you say, this is what our students need. How can we work together as a team and get this done? So, step one, how many of you are familiar with the new state definition of career and college readiness? Not as many hands. I'm not surprised. I personally, as a communicator, I don't think it was communicated very well, but that's just me. So there is this new definition. It's a 2-page, you can download it. I did not make handouts, I'm sorry, but I will connect it to my PowerPoint on the ISCA site. When you can download things from the sessions, it will be there, I promise. So the definition, which I'm gonna have to read here, because I can't read on my screen. Iowa students who are college and career ready have acquired the necessary knowledge, skills, and strategies to be successful in post-secondary opportunities as demonstrated through multiple sources of evidence, including those generated by students. Iowa students who are college and career ready are these 4 things. They have achieved proficiency in essential content knowledge. They have acquired practical transition skills. They have developed key learning skills and cognitive strategies, and they have built a strong foundation of self-understanding and engagement strategies. Now, this definition goes on, and yes, I have slides, but we're not going to spend a lot of time reading them because it's a lot. But each of those 4 categories, they've outlined, they've given you bullet points on what those mean, how they should be incorporated, what the outcomes look like when you've done these things successfully. So when you've achieved proficiency in essential content knowledge, there's some bullets. You know, they have knowledge and skills associated with the IO4. They have the academic and technical knowledge and skills to enroll successfully. Now at the elementary level, you're not trying to get your kids to enroll in college or get them a job, but you are doing the foundation skills for those things. So it's important to know these bullets and know how your work contributes to that definition. Transition skills. Goal setting. This is where they learn how to set goals. They may be small goals, or they might be big. I don't know, he wants to be Iron Man, that's a big goal. But they're learning how to set goals now. And learning how to do the small goals now teaches them how to meet those goals and set even bigger ones when they're older. Develop key learning skills and cognitive strategies. So they're learning how to be team players, they're learning how to work together, they're learning how to share, they're learning, you know, centers and roles and timing and structure. Those are all how to be collaborative. That's how you set goals. That's how you persist when you struggle with things. So those are things that you're doing that reflect the state definition. Develop key learning skills and, that's more bullets, they get bigger. Built a strong foundation of self-understanding and engagement. So again, they're learning at the elementary level where do they fit in the world? How do they navigate? How do they communicate? That's all how this fits in at this level. So I would recommend reviewing the state definition and seeing how it fits into your current program, and then how it aligns with the ASCA mindsets and behaviors, because it does. That's the nice thing, is that the group of people that worked on the college and career definition for the state, some of them were school counselors, and they had this in mind, and they made sure that there was alignment with ASCA, so that if you're already working on your ASCA model, you don't have to start and do something completely new. You're just going to look at how those two things align. So mindset standards. We're developing the whole child, yes. And at the elementary level, you're lifting them up. You're showing them the possibilities of the world. We're building self-confidence, the sense of belonging, the understanding of what post-secondary education is. We're talking to them about the fact that it exists. My son has been to UNI twice now because that's where I graduated. He thinks I lived in the clock tower, which is awesome. So now, in his mind, he wants to go to school and live in the castle where mommy lives. But he has that in his head, that I lived in a castle and it was a super cool school and he's going to go there. He's going to college because he's going to live in the castle. Right now, that is all I want. He wants to go to college. We'll work on not living in the campanile. So those are, that's career and college readiness at this level. And having positive attitudes towards learning. These are the years where kids can learn to love learning, or they can learn to hate it. And that's where we lift them up. When we talk about the academic side of career and college readiness in elementary, it's making sure that they foster a love of learning. That they not only realize that it's important, it's not something they have to do, but it's important and it can be fun, and we figure out the best way that they learn on an individual level. If they're struggling, we help them, we figure it out. Because if they hate it in elementary, it's going to be that much harder for them to be successful when it starts getting harder. And when we talk about behavior standards, that mindset sheet, you've got the chart, you can talk about the behavior standards and your strategies and your management skills. All of that aligns with career and college readiness. So when you're doing your ASCA model standards, you're doing career and college readiness. You just have to think about how to incorporate it in a fun way, which is where we're going to move to now, some of the fun stuff. So it's surprising sometimes when you think about the components of career and college readiness and how many of them are actually present in the elementary level. So we can build college aspirations with kids just by getting them to think they can live in a castle. We can talk about academic planning by fostering that love of learning. We can talk about enrichment and engagement and extracurriculars just by getting them to do fun extra things with their friends. My son's preschool offers a dance club. He doesn't do it because he only likes to dance by himself. He's not a joiner yet, but it's there and it's offered, and we always say, gee, you want to do this? It's always up to him if he wants to join that. And we encourage it, but we don't make him do it. So there's a lot of overlap. It's not all starting in middle school. I know I use my son a lot. I'm sorry, he happens to fit in this session. So in terms of your curriculum, again, that goal setting, that decision making, fostering that love, and then that self-understanding. The biggest piece, I think, is that self-confidence. Again, that expanding their mind. What can they do? Getting rid of those self-limitations that, for some reason, our littlest kids start imposing on themselves earlier and earlier and earlier. We want to try and get rid of that. Elementary, build them up what is possible. So in terms of career development stages, the biggest piece, it's exposure. What does the world of work look like? I remember when I was in elementary school, I knew of 3 professions. When I was in like 1st or 2nd grade, I wanted to be a teacher who was also a veterinarian on the weekends. And I think that was only because I was a teacher. My parents bought me a big chalkboard. I only wanted to be a teacher because I could boss my brother around and it worked. And I only wanted to be a veterinarian because we grew up with animals. I had horses and dogs and a bird and cats, and I just thought that was cool. That ended when my horse had a baby and I saw the whole arm-in process. I was done with being a veterinarian. But that was all I knew because I had teachers and I had pets. And I didn't want to be what my dad worked construction. I knew I didn't want to do. So I had like 3 options in my mind when I was in 1st grade. We need to expose them to all these jobs that don't even exist. We need to prepare them for jobs that they will have that don't currently exist. And then also recognizing and developing what they're interested in. What do they show interest in, and how can we expand on that? So, building a college-going culture. Now we get into some fun stuff. What are some examples of that? So in every grade, these are some ideas of things you can do to incorporate career and college readiness. So define college with your parents, with your teachers, and with your administration. What is college? Because it is not a 4-year degree. That is not the end-all be-all college definition. College is any education and training beyond high school. So if you have a kiddo who loves to build stuff and they work with their hands and they are just a go-getter and they don't sit down, they're not good at just sitting quietly and doing numbers and worksheets, they need to move. Well, you know what? Maybe they're going to end up in an apprenticeship where they're out in the world and they're working with their hands and they're building things, and that is okay because we need those people. And those are good paying jobs that don't require a 4-year degree. We need to show kids that there are all kinds of options. So exposing them and making sure that parents understand that college is not just a 4-year degree, because a lot of times you'll get parents who either didn't go to college or they don't understand that there are other options, and they go, well, I didn't have a 4-year degree, I didn't need a 4-year degree, my kid's not going to college. And when you hear that at home, it doesn't matter how often we tell them it's possible, if they're hearing that they shouldn't or it's not important at home, it makes our job much harder. So, provide your colleagues with ways to bring career and college readiness into their classrooms, classroom conversations. So it can be any lesson. Can be like, how is this applicable? Where is this going to help me later? Why is this important? Connect daily activities and lessons to what's already happening in the world. We want to make it fun and exciting and important, and teach what they need to know, but we also want to make sure that they're connecting with why they need to know it. It's not just about memorizing this or learning this, it's about learning it because it matters out here. This is bringing it all together. And then talk about life lessons, again, those goal setting and those soft skills. Use your communities, engage and explore your community for options that you can bring into the school or that you can go out and experience. Explore career days, field trips to businesses. If you have an employer in town that obviously is safe, you're not taking kiddos to a factory, But if you've got something that's cool that they could go and see or tour, do a mini field trip that's all about downtown businesses. If I think about the little town I grew up in, we had a main street, and we had a bank and a clothing store and a sewing shop and a video store and a pharmacy. It would have been so fun to do a one-day field trip where it's like trick-or-treating and you go to each business and you learn a little, like a 10-minute, this is what we do here, and you engage the community in that learning process, and then all of a sudden they don't know about 3 jobs. They know about every job on Main Street, what everybody in their community does and how it impacts the community. And that's a morning or a day, and you get community support. And how often is a business going to say no to letting little kids come in and say hi? No, they're gonna make it fun. They're gonna have treats, and they're gonna like give away balloon animals, or they're gonna come up with something to make it super fun too. So think about how you can engage your community. Do a career day. Bring them right back into the school. Go out and visit them. Let the kids see what the job looks like, but have a career day in school too. Either with parents or with businesses. Come in, talk about what they do, bring in their tools or whatever, show off what they're doing. Career dress-up days, field trips, decision day, graduation walk. We're going to talk about those. I've got some slides on those. So think about starting from the beginning. What do they need to know? From kindergarten on, what class are you? What's next? Give them that unity, that sense of something, I'm part of something that's really cool. I am the class of today's kindergartners, class of 2030, which is kind of crazy to think about. But get them to know that. It's not, we're part of this huge system, and you're the class of 2030, and what's that world going to look like, and what are you going to do when you get there? How exciting is that going to be for you? So what do you need to know when you get there? What do you want to accomplish when you're bigger? Like, what do you like? What do you see? What do you want to do? Think about some campus visits. And colleges love, how fun is it to have kids anywhere? But on a college campus, when you get to pull the mascot out and take them through the big cafeteria, and little kids love big kids. We all know that. So those student ambassadors, can you imagine a elementary campus visit with college student ambassadors? If they're that happy and excited about showing off their school to high school seniors, imagine how excited those guys are going to be with little kids on campus. Yeah.
I take my 5th graders. We've done Drake a couple of years, and we did Simpson this last year. And it is awesome. It is so cool.
And there are studies that show that if you're exposed not just to the idea of college, but a college campus, what that setting looks like, what that experience is like from a young age, and then consistently, it's ingrained. It's the next step. It's not even a question. It's just, hey, that's what I do next. That's where I'm going next. And I know it's tough. So if you can't physically get your kids at some point, and it's not every year, but like by 5th grade, if it can't happen, you can't physically get them there, do virtual. Get something going in your classroom, fix up the auditorium or the gym, look like a college campus, and do a virtual tour. A lot of colleges have virtual web tours where it's videos, and there's the president talks, and there's missions, and it's exciting, there's music, there's the mascot. Do a virtual campus tour with kids if you can't get them on a campus. But make sure that they're exposed to not just the idea of college and the words, but some visuals. What does it look like? And yeah, if you can't get them on campus, they're going to come away with some swag. They're going to get bags and all kinds of fun stuff. So something you can do in the classroom is the I'm going to college pledge. It's artwork. I'm going to college. I'm going to be this. I'm going to do this. And they get to think about it. You get to talk about it. They get to plan it. And then they get to create artwork. And then it can go on the hallway. Or, you create an activity out of it. Make it fun. What are they going to do? Well, this is what I'm doing. And then have that up during parent-teacher conferences or, something so that parents can see this, the community can see this. Or if you're going to have that career day where you bring the businesses in, do this first. And then the businesses can see and incorporate that in. And maybe one of that, I'm going to college and I'm going to be this. I want to work in a bank. Well, maybe the banker can spend 5 minutes at the end with the 2 kids that wanted to be a banker. There's all kinds of ways to bring this together. So another idea is writing campaigns. Have a classroom or a teacher have like a year-long project where they pick a college and they write to the college and they get information, they send away, they get the books to come back in. Be pen pals with a sorority or a college student group and get the students communicating with them. Have it be like every couple weeks, as a group you spend 15 minutes writing a letter to your college pen pal as a class. And you'll find groups on campus that are going to love to do this. And they'll send pictures back from campus that they'll share with the kids. You could do, what's that flat?
Flat Stanley.
There you go. I did it for my nephew once, but I couldn't remember. They could do a flat Stanley thing where they, one of the letters you send to your sorority or your group on campus, and they could take the class's flat Stanley around campus and, hey, we went to the cafeteria and had lunch today, and then they take pictures. These are just ways to bring that into the classroom in small chunks. Coaches, occasionally, actually more than occasionally, they give really inspiring speeches, and some of them are appropriate to show to kids. So find those inspirational coach speeches that are appropriate and motivate kids with those. There are some great speeches out there. And then things like spirit days and encouraging leadership roles in the classroom, fostering that want and that desire for those kids to step up and do those extra things that build those soft skills. A career week, Career and College Week, similar to homecoming. Maybe you could do it in the spring so it doesn't interfere with homecoming. If you do homecoming at the elementary level, I don't know, some do, some don't. But you pick a different thing for each day. So Monday, and it progresses. Monday, you're just excited to be in elementary school. You're going to wear school colors. And Tuesday, you're going to dress like you would if you were going to high school, because we're growing up and we're going to be high schoolers soon, and this is what we're going to look like. And then maybe on Wednesday, that's the day that we graduate high school, and we're going to pick a college, and we're going to wear colors from the college we want to go to, and we're going to talk about what that looks like. And then, we're graduating college on Thursday, we're going to practice what it's like to get a job. What would we wear to get a job? What kind of conversation are you going to have? What do you wear for a job interview? How do you shake hands? How do you maintain eye contact? And these are fun with little kids. It doesn't have to be the stress, anxiety-filled version that you have in high school when it's real. This is just for fun. And then on Friday, hey, you got that dream job. What does your job look like? Dress up like your job. And then talk about why that job's important. What are those responsibilities? This is my son on career day this fall. He decided that he was going to go as his dad. My husband he runs a landscape crew and builds walls and crazy things. But that was my son on career day. And what was awesome is it wasn't just a dress-up day. They sent home a list the week before of talking points that they wanted us to do at dinner time. Not just picking a career, but why do you want to do that? And what is the point of that job? What do they have to do? What tools do they use? What are their daily activities? But then it went even further, and this is the part I really love. Why is that important? How does the community benefit from this job? What do they do for the community that is helpful for other people? And so my husband is a landscaper, which in my son's mind is awesome. I'm going to tell you what he thinks my husband's value is. My husband builds fancy walls and patios and things for people with big houses. So I don't know the big community. It's beautiful for the individual homeowners. And occasionally, he did do the rooftop garden at the new Children's Hospital in Iowa City. So I suppose that has community benefit. But in my son's mind, what he said, Daddy plants trees and protects the earth. And I loved that I got to write that down on his paper for him. He wants to protect the earth by being a landscaper and taking care of trees. That was awesome. So you can turn a simple dress-up day into something that's so much more, just by having parents have that conversation. And then what he had to do that Friday is all the questions that we talked about, he had to stand up in front of his class dressed as his landscape construction worker, and he had to talk about why his job was important and what he was responsible for doing, and he got to show off the tools that he would use. But he had to give like a 2-minute summary to his little class of classmates about what he was doing and why it was important. And that was awesome to see what he thought was important and why he wanted to do that. So decision day is generally a high school thing. Seniors have May 1st, they've got to pick where they're going to go and what they're going to do. That can really come all the way down to your level. You just need to partner with your secondary counselors and talk about how that could impact your elementary kids. Have the seniors come visit your kiddos and talk about the decisions they're making, where they're going, what they're going to do. The seniors are going to, most of them, are going to love the fact that they get to come hang out with little kids and talk about where they're going and their decisions, because they're excited. It's a break from senioritis. They're going to love coming and taking a break. And then the kids get to see the kids they look up to and say, hey, that could be me. Someday that will be me. I could go where they're going because they did it, and maybe I can do it. Have a college sweatshirt day at school. Have everyone in the school talk about where they went. They are wearing their college sweatshirts or shirt or whatever, and they've got their pennant up. Maybe you do I've seen it in schools where the outside of your door is all about where you went and what you majored in and what you did. That's a way to incorporate it in. Have your teachers spend a few minutes talking about how they got where they are. And you could have a college day, just like a career day, where you went, why you studied, what you did. My favorite thing right now is the graduate walk, because it's good on both ends. So have your seniors in cap and gown walk through the elementary school. Seniors get choked up. I've seen this because if it's their elementary school and they remember being that little, they get choked up, they love it. And the little kids seeing not just the seniors who are graduating, but seeing them in cap and gown, they're all dressed up, it's kind of like a costume. They get excited too. And I love this one on the bottom. Those seniors actually held up signs that said what they were going to be, where they were going, and what job they were going to have. So for older kids that, my son can read those, but for the older kids that can read that, that's an added part of that activity. And it's such a bridge between where they're at now as little kids and where they're going to go. And it gives them that visual, gives them that aspiration. That's where I'm going to go. That's what I'm going to do. So that's something you can do at any level. So primary grades, the really young kids, just remember that it's just about exploration, it's just about fun, and that they learn through play. So as much as we can, letting them play to learn and be active and not have to sit so much is going to help them. And then recommending that to parents. Let them do stuff at home. When they're young and they want to be helpers, encourage that, because then they're going to keep on doing it, in theory. My son loves to help me fold laundry. He's terrible at it, but I let him do it because he wants to do laundry. And someday I hope he'll just do his own. We want to instill that when they're interested. Right now they want us. They want our attention. They want to learn. They want to do things. They want to be helpful. We need to encourage that, not say, well, you're not going to do it right. So no. Yes, you can help me. Yes, you can do that. My son's learning to cook, and he's actually pretty good. I let him dump in the spices. I let him stir things because he wants to help, he wants to learn. We need to grasp that. And we need to make sure parents are grasping that, taking advantage of that. Parents should be, we can give them these tips. Hey, right now we're focusing on this. It'd be really great if you could talk about this week. Just over dinner, have that conversation. Centers are big in kindergarten, first grade. Fostering those positive communication skills, friendship skills, how to make sure that we're not overly angry, or that we learn to control our emotions. So doing career centers is a great way to both build those soft skills and career exploration. So they need to practice those skills. So giving them those opportunities to create career centers. And if you don't have the funding for that, a lot of times businesses will donate things. You can make that part of that community outreach. Hey, we'd like to do this project. Can you donate something that represents your business, so we can have a mini version of your business in our school and the kids can learn. So not all of this, it doesn't have to cost money or be a budget line. Engage your community. And there's always goodwill, that's always great too. But think about, do a variety. Think about odd careers that they've never heard of. Put the ones they know about in there because they're going to be interested in that, but also expand their mind a little bit. Come up with a career that's going to be a conversation starter. Something that they maybe don't think about. So when we talk about career theory at elementary, again, just exposure. We're providing them with experiences that are crucial to helping them make those choices later on. And when we work with everyone together, when we're not that lonely island, we engage the community, we engage our buildings, we help them see that that's important too. It's also what they see us doing. If they see us bringing in the community and seeing that we can talk to those people, they're going to be more willing to talk to people. They emulate what they see. So they're going to build those attachments, they're going to build those relationships as we provide those opportunities and as we show them how to build those relationships by doing it ourselves. We're also fostering those opportunities to become independent thinkers, which I know at this age, because I live with it, is extremely frustrating sometimes when they want to be super independent, they want to do it on their own, and they have all these opinions. And I'm constantly telling myself, it's good. He needs this independent spirit later, I just have to survive it now. Like I want to tell him no, but not so much that he never asks again. So we have to find that balance in school too, where we're fostering, we're encouraging that independent spirit, we're encouraging that inquiry and those questions that never end. We want that, just not so much that it drives us crazy. But we want that. We need to embrace that with our kids and say, yes, ask those questions. What other questions do you have? And if you don't know the answer, I'm constantly finding answers for things that I don't know how to explain because I never thought about it. But we don't brush them off. Encourage that and get our teachers to encourage that. Yes, ask questions. Make choices. And then as we get older, we can do more things that involve the kids. The kids can go and do interviews and talk to the community members. Or this is a great idea that I got from an elementary counselor I know. She went out into her community and interviewed business owners, took their picture, and it was specifically for their math night. So she wanted to know, how do you use math in your job? And then they made a PowerPoint presentation and they had it running. And it was all the community members that if you had done the younger versions, they already knew those people. And now it's specific. How is math being incorporated into my career? And then on math night, they also had a big whiteboard on the wall where parents could write how they're using math in their jobs or in their lives. So you can incorporate that into special events. This is a 3rd grade math project that I found on Google, where it's which college do the teachers go to, and then they made charts. So this college had the greater percentage of teachers going to it, this one only had this. And they used math to visually show where everyone went and what everyone did. So I thought that was a really creative way to not only, it's artistic, it's math, it's numbers, and we're also talking about where they're going. A couple other ideas, creating a first resume, understanding that we should keep track of our accomplishments and that we should have skills and that it's important because it helps us later on. This can be really simple and fun. I mean, the first round of a resume could be, I'm really good at being a team player, or I was the leader for a reading group this week. Just fun little things that also are something real that they're going to do later on. Or writing letters to Future Me. FutureMe.org is kind of a fun site where you can, it's a platform where they can write a letter to themselves in the future about what they're aspiring or what they think or what they want to do. It's a really fun activity that gets them thinking about the future. Because it's so easy when they're little, what are we doing today? Well, what are we doing today that's going to help us tomorrow? And then beyond, it's just building awareness. Those soft skills. The skills that are most valued when you get a job, ability to work in a team, ability to make decisions and solve problems, plan, organize, and prioritize. Verbally communicate. These are all things that we're teaching the foundation of at elementary. How do you work with your friends? How do you share? How do you communicate what you want instead of getting angry and screaming or crying? How are we controlling our emotions? Those are all the things that lead to employability skills. So those everyday lessons you're already doing are helping. You just put that career or that college add-on when you're having those conversations and know that they're going to help them. And my last point before we head off for our closing remarks is about parent communication. Because we all know that if parents aren't on board, it's going to make us so much more difficult to meet our mission. Find ways to communicate with your parents. So this is another idea that I have from a friend. They're taking their report card and all of the things that they report, but they're going to do a mock-up version of it and show how each section of standard curriculum and education relates to career and college readiness. So they're going to talk about the spots that are recorded on the report card that have to do with citizenship or employability or how academic achievement is important. They're going to make an infographic and then share it at parent-teacher conferences with all the parents, so that they can not only see how their child is progressing academically and through the curriculum, but also how those things are relating to their next steps, which I just thought was a great idea. I can't wait to see how it comes out. We talked about parents being the #1 influencer. Give them talking points for home. You know, they need to foster that love of learning at home. They may not have loved it themselves, but they need to tell their kids how important it is. They need to read at home. We all know how important it is. If parents will read with their kids at home, how much more likely a student is to develop that love of reading. And then talk about experiences and expectations. So often parents don't have that conversation until it's time for them to go to college. If you have those conversations from day one and it's always there, it becomes just the next step. It's not a big decision. It's just, you're not deciding whether to go to college, you're deciding where to go. You're not deciding, you know, what job I might have someday. You're saying, I'm really good at these things. What could I do with that? Because it's been part of the conversation since they were this big. And then you can assist them with that conversation. And then the last piece, so if the family doesn't start saving for college by the time their child is 7 years old, the likelihood that they will save is 0. It's very rare. If you're not doing it from the beginning, you're not going to do it. So you're the point in time when parents need to hear about saving for college. And it isn't about saving $100,000. It's about saving whatever you can to make it easier when you get to that point 18 years later. So it's not this overwhelming thing about, I don't know, how do I save $100,000 for each of my kids? I've got 4 kids, that's 400. There's no way I'm not going to do it. It's too much. No, break it down. It's just whatever you can, throw it in the 529 plan. It's tax deductible. Whatever you can, put it aside so that there's something that will help them when they get to be 18 or 19 and they're ready to make that choice. But that's the thing, is that if you start talking to parents about saving for college when they're a junior in high school, it's too late. They can't, the market's not going to work for them at when the kid's is 16. The market's going to work for them when they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, and we did just create a 529 video. It's on the ICAN website, so if you want to show that to parents or email it to parents, it talks all about compound saving and all those financial planner mumbo jumbo that we don't want to talk about. Just send them the video. This is why it's important to think ahead. Just here's some information on 529 plans. But yeah, having those home conversations is super important. And so I'm just going to leave you with some resources. I have explored the ASCA website more than probably any non-school counselor. I love it. I wish I could use more of it, but I'm not a counselor. But there are curriculum lessons for career and college readiness at every level in the ASCA website, full of resources. So if you're an ASCA member, log in, check out those resources. I'm sure that there are brilliant ideas in there that you can take so much further than I can just talking about some ideas today. So check out the ASCA website, and ASCA Scene is where other counselors are talking, so that's good too. So as I mentioned at the beginning, ICAN doesn't actually do presentations at the elementary level, but we do talk to parents in our offices. So if you're anywhere near our office and you have parents that want to sit down, we will have that conversation at any stage about college planning, about saving for college specifically. So you can always send them to us for basic questions about what they could be doing at the elementary when their kids are little. So we can't come to you yet. It's my mission to get there someday, I promise you. But we can be a resource for your families. And engage social media. Use social media, follow organizations that talk about these topics, and let them do your research for you. If there's a great article, post it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Find those resources and share them out on social media. Get your families to follow you. I know your students aren't going to be on social media at this point. That's more the upper level, but your parents might follow your counseling page. So that would be a great way to send out quick tidbits to parents if you can get them to follow an elementary Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Send them infographics, send them articles, anything that's helpful. Or, hey, this is what we're doing this week. Talk to your kiddos about this topic because we're going to be talking about it on Friday. That's just a great way to throw that out there to parents who are probably already on Facebook sharing pictures of their adorable kids with their friends anyway. So, and then if you want to follow ICAN, like I said, I'm making it my mission to expand. It may be a solo mission for a while, but I'm going to be putting more out there for you guys. So if you want to follow us, we're everywhere in every platform. And our Pinterest page, we do have several boards for different counseling levels that as I find things, I'm putting them out there. So that would be a great place to look for things as we go forward. And always know that the ISC board is here. So you have an elementary VP, Sarah Majoris is amazing. She has completed RAMP twice now. So if you ever have questions about how your program could do anything, I'm going to go ahead and say call Sarah, email Sarah. She's awesome. I know she's only VP through April, but the new elementary VP will be equally awesome and available for any questions you have. Your presidents, 2 of them right now are elementary school counselors. Laurel Clausen and Amy Hospodarsky are awesome. You can call them, you can ask them questions, you can email them. The ISCA board should be a resource. Reach out, we are here for you. And I'm going to go ahead and plug Sandy right here. She's our membership chair, and she is an awesome elementary school counselor on the board as well. So use the board, reach out when you have questions. If there's something that you need, that you want to know more about, a webinar topic, a session for next year, tell us. Because that's the best way to get the PD from us that you need, is to tell us what you need, and we will find a way to do it. And that is my promise to you. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you had a great conference. Thank you guys so much for coming. And we have closing remarks and the final giveaways in the ballroom, and then have safe trip home.